Hi everyone. So I'm just going to draw your attention to a few things. So I am going to make some changes to the schedule of assignments because I just looked over all of your formal report drafts and they actually look really good. So I'm impressed with how much progress you've made, and I also took a look at your letter of transmittals, and those also look really good. So when I originally assigned this part, chapter 10, writing correct and effective sentences, I basically wasn't entirely sure what kinds of sort of grammatical issues that might possibly pop up. And in general, I didn't see that many grammatical issues. In fact, there were only sort of like two things that I noticed. So instead, I'm going to sort of change this assignment. So there's still a video that I want you to watch, obviously this video, but I decided to get rid of the complete questions for chapter 10. I don't think that's entirely necessary, especially for all of you. Like some of you have one or two grammatical issues, so instead I would like you to focus on them on your own instead of making everyone like go through a bunch of different grammar topics. So instead, I guess since we're here, I'll just walk you through it. I would like you to just take a look at the comments that I left you. So as I mentioned in this announcement that I just replied in a comment to the discussion thread that you posted. And please contact me if you need clarification about anything. And if I made comments about grammar, right, please just read the corresponding section. Like if I said, here's a sentence fragment, like read the section about, how to avoid sentence fragments. Well, and basically that. And then the assignment that corresponds with it is all I want you to do is just make the necessary changes to the body of your formal report. So for some of you, that might mean tweaking a few things. And since I know you submitted that draft basically like last week, some of you may have written more, and so you might want to go back and look at that. So, or some of you may need to expand on a few things, so maybe like write those sections. So that's totally fine. And you don't need to submit this or submit your changes to me. Just take the time tomorrow just to work on this. So, however, there are two things that I want to draw your attention to. So the first thing that I noticed were I did see some inconsistencies with regards to citations. If I made a note about that, for some of you, I popped a link in to the comment and wanted you to sort of look at that on your own. So basically, if there were citation problems, instead of reading like chapter 10, just take a look at the link that I showed you and go through and, fix whatever issue that I brought up to you. The second thing that applies to pretty much everyone is actually not related to chapter 10, but actually related to chapter 9, which you looked at already, like right before you were creating your outline. So I hope this jogs your memory a little bit because I do want you to think about it. So it has to do with the end of chapter 9. And I'll just walk you through this section. And it's about writing clear, informative paragraphs. So aside from like transitions, okay, so here we are. Using demonstrative pronouns followed by nouns. So a lot of you have a tendency of putting this in reference to something, but then you don't put a noun afterwards. And the problem with that, this was actually one of my professor's biggest pet peeves. And I always thought it was really minor, but it's been, trained and grilled into me that do not put the word this, that, these, or those without a noun after it. And the reason you don't want to do that is because sometimes it leaves it up to the reader to interpret, and the reader will probably interpret it wrong, or you'll give them a 50% chance of getting it wrong. So here's some examples. So it says unclear. New screening techniques are being developed to combat viral infections. These are the subject of a new research effort in California. So the question that is being brought up here is, what is being studied in California? Is it new screening techniques or viral infections, right? So there are two options, and if me as a reader, if I guess, I might get it wrong. So the way you want to write is pop in a noun after these. These what, right? So the revision says, okay, these techniques are the subject of a new research effort in California. So this helps me know, okay, the screening techniques, not the viral infections, are being studied necessarily. Okay, so here's another example. The task force could not complete its study of the mine accident. This was the subject of a scathing editorial in the Union newsletter. So same thing. Okay, what is actually the subject of the editorial? Is it the mine accident, or is it the task force inability to complete its study of the accident? So once again, 50% chance of getting it right as a reader. And you don't want your reader to like stop and think and second guess their interpretation, right? So it's good to spell it out for them. So the clear way of saying it is the task force failed to complete its study of the mine accident. This failure, right, was the subject of a scathing editorial in the Union newsletter. So once again, this is something that I brought up to most people at least 1 or 2 times in your draft. So please take some time to think about what noun would be best to clarify your own writing. So last but not least, even when the context is clear, having that demonstrative pronoun used within a noun without a noun might interrupt readers' progress by forcing them to refer back to an earlier idea. And so when you are writing, it feels super obvious. You're like, I literally just wrote this. You should know what this means. But when a person is reading, oftentimes they have to stop and go all the way back to be like, okay, what was this? And oftentimes you use this because you're referring to something slightly large and possibly more complex, and you don't know how to like cram it into a single noun. But it's a good thing to think about just so it triggers the memory of your reader so they can kind of move forward and keep that momentum. So it says the law firm advised that the company initiate proceedings. This caused the company to search for a second legal opinion. So there isn't necessarily that same question of interpretation, like is it one or the other, with that 50% chance of getting it right. However, it says this advice caused the company to search for a second legal opinion. And when I'm reading this, it's so much smoother, right? I go straight from the first sentence to the second sentence, and there's no question marks like popping up. So as a result, please make sure that you go through your writing. Make sure that you don't have this, that, these, or those without a noun after it. Okay, so that is all for now. So next class, on Monday, I'll be going over how to find specific graphics and different ways you can think about and conceptualize what you're looking for. So I know a lot of you already have found images that you want to use, and that's absolutely great. You are ahead of the curve, but I still have some things that I want to point out. So I'll be posting that video for you soon. All right, so if you don't have any other questions, I will end this video. All right, talk to you later. Bye.